Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. Today we're embarking on quite an extraordinary journey. We're heading into a universe where freedom, well, it comes at a cost you wouldn't believe, and the whole idea of patriotism feels engineered, meticulously so. We're talking about a game, a phenomenon really, that's thrilled millions Helldivers too, but it's also, controversially, found itself tangled up with real-world stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely made waves beyond just the gaming world.
Absolutely. And look, we're not here for just a quick game review. Nope. Our mission today is much bigger, a full-blown deep dive. We're getting into its super intricate lore, that dynamic Galactic War narrative it has, and, you know, the really fascinating, sometimes kind of unsettling real-world chats it keeps sparking.
And we've got some solid sources to back this up.
We do. We've got a really comprehensive lore guide from the Steam community, the always handy Wikipedia entry, a technical review from Eurogamer, good for the nuts and bolts, and this really sharp academic paper from Uppsala University. It really dissects the game's clever use of propaganda.
That Uppsala paper is fascinating. Yeah, gets right into the mechanics of it.
Totally. So this deep dive, it's for you. Our goal is to unravel how Helldivers 2 pulls off this compelling, constantly changing story. How it builds serious tension through these conflicts that just keep escalating. And the big questions it throws up about, you know, agency, propaganda, and what managed democracy even is.
Which, in the game, you quickly realize isn't very democratic at all, is it? It's more guided, strongly guided.
Exactly. Freedom's kind of curated, citizens nudged towards the right choices, often not very democratically. So yeah, get ready for some aha moments, hopefully, and a pretty unique look at interactive storytelling. Let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's start by stepping into the 22nd century.
Yeah.
We land on Super Earth, presented as this, like, shining beacon of managed democracy.
Right, the sales pitch.
The initial picture is almost idyllic, like a utopia.
Yeah.
Prosperity, peace. The scheme lore guide even mentions comfy housing modules coming with a farming kit with hardy super wheat and a hydroponics module for greens and veggies.
Sounds pretty self-sufficient, almost worry-free, like you said, idyllic.
Almost too perfect, right? But if you just, you know, squint a little bit, you start seeing the cracks in that shiny paint job.
It doesn't take long.
So here's something to chew on, something to get you thinking. What kind of society, claiming to be all about freedom and democracy, needs to spell out that its soldiers must have a citizenship grade E or above just to sign up?
Yeah, that detail hits you early on.
It's not just like, we prefer loyal people. It's a requirement, a grade, a literal grading system for how much you love the state. What does that tell you right off the bat about Super Earth?
Well, it's striking, isn't it? Before you even get near the really grim stuff in the Helldiver contract, that citizenship grade E requirement, it plants this seed of doubt immediately.
Yeah.
It hints pretty strongly at a society that's deeply layered, stratified, where even the basic right to fight for freedom isn't universal. It's a privilege. You have to earn it through, well, proven loyalty.
It's not just an entry requirement then.
No. It feels more like a sophisticated control mechanism, a selection process, making sure only the most ideologically correct individuals get handed the keys to the war machine, get to perform this ultimate patriotic duty.
So loyalty isn't just wanted, it's managed, quantified.
Exactly. Managed and quantified. And that immediately creates this tension, doesn't it, between the shiny image of freedom and this underlying reality of pretty tight control.
Okay, and if that detail makes you uneasy, the Helldivers' contract of employment is where the satire just, it really sharpens its teeth.
Oh yeah. This is where it gets dark, but also kind of brilliantly funny in a bleak way.
It's not just some terms and conditions you scroll past. This thing hidden away in the lore, it's profoundly disturbing. It just lays bare the chilling truth beneath Super Earth's propaganda posters.
Let's really dig into these clauses because they're crucial.
Absolutely, you have to. First up, absolute authority. Okay, so the contract outline the services in Appendix A, fine. But the authorized command structure, that's everyone from the president down to various ministries, they can change this schedule at any point with no prior notice.
Right. No notice whatsoever.
Imagine signing up for any job where your core duties could just completely change overnight, and nobody even has to tell you beforehand. What does that do to your sense of having any control, any agency?
It completely strips it away. This clause is fundamental, really. It shows the Helldiver has zero autonomy. Your duties aren't fixed. They're totally subject to the whims of this opaque, all-powerful command structure. It echoes what that Uppsala University paper discusses about totalitarian systems,
Sure.
keeping absolute control over people by removing any predictable terms of service is a classic tool.
Keeps you guessing, keeps you compliant.
Precisely. You're in this constant state of uncertainty. Knowing your role, maybe even your whole purpose, could shift instantly.
Yeah.
You're not really a soldier with rights. You're just a tool, basically.
Yeah.
Stripped of expectations, stripped of the right to even object.
And then there's the vagueness around what service even means. Active combat operations, raids, invasions, nukings. Makes a brutal kind of sense in a space war, right?
Sure, that part tracks.
But then, non-combat operations. And the list is wild. Parades, interviews, signings and appearances, executions, both summary and otherwise, interplanetary transportation, and basically any activities deemed necessary.
The casual inclusion of executions alongside parades is something.
Right. One day you're dropping onto a bug planet, the next you're maybe shaking hands at a rally, or, carrying out an execution. The sheer range is staggering, and just how casually executions are thrown in there. It's deeply disturbing.
And that vagueness, that specific blurring of lines, is another key part of the propaganda critique, I think.
How?
Well, it normalizes the extreme stuff, like executions, by just lumping it in with the mundane, or even the celebratory, like parades.
Ah, I see.
By doing that, Super Earth frames everything a Helldiver does, no matter how morally questionable, as just another equally valid, equally vital contribution to managed democracy.
So you don't stop and think, wait, should I be doing this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It removes that opportunity for critical thought, because it all just falls under the big umbrella of duty. It's that dark humor again, highlighting the moral compromises baked into the system.
And, that dream of commanding your own ship, your super destroyer.
Yeah, sounds cool, right?
Forget about owning it. Ownership doesn't exist. The contract says a Helldiver is entrusted with the command of a classic super destroyer. Sounds amazing, but that command, it transfers immediately upon termination of the contract.
Which is their nice way of saying when you die.
Precisely. And here's the kicker. Your family, your heirs, they have no right, claim, or interest in that ship. It was never really yours. You were just borrowing it.
That just hammers home the dehumanizing part of it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're not an individual with property or, a legacy. You're literally just a temp looking after Super Earth stuff.
Disposable.
Utterly disposable. The destroyer is the asset. You're the replaceable operator. It creates this sense that you don't really matter in the grand scheme, reinforcing that the state's goals are everything, the individual nothing, and it definitely raises the stakes. Your investment, your command, it's always temporary.
And for all this heroic sacrifice, there's a financial sting in the tail. If your actions damage the super destroyer and it needs repairs, the cost is subtracted from the martyrdom payment your family gets when you die.
Ouch. So you die fighting, and your family might get less money because you scratched the paintwork.
Pretty much. Your ultimate sacrifice gets literally offset by repair costs. Heroism becomes a line item on an invoice, and any gear you bought, maintained, improved, stays with the ship for the next Helldiver after your absence of pulse. Nothing is yours.
That might be one of the most cynical bits in the whole contract. It basically monetizes death for the state.
Yeah.
The financial sacrifice, even after you're gone, just ensures the war machine keeps running smoothly. And it frames the Helldiver's contribution as total, all-encompassing. That martyrdom payment isn't really a tribute. It's just a transaction.
Cold.
Completely strips away personal value, replaces it with cold, hard utility, and definitely raises the stakes for whoever you left behind.
Then there's what they call exceptionally patriotic duty. Monetary pay. It shall vary. Wonderfully vague. But your immediate family gets 4.5 citizenship points when you start.
Citizenship points. What can you even do with those?
Well, they're non-transferable and may not be exchanged for a cash equivalent. So basically, in return for potentially dying horribly, your family gets bragging rights.
Yeah.
Patriotic street cred, not actual support.
That just perfectly skewers totalitarian systems, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Where symbolic nods to patriotism are worth more than actually helping the families left behind.
Right.
Citizenship points sound official, maybe even important, but they're just social currency. Reinforcing that loyalty and sacrifice for the state are the real virtues, much better than, food or rent money. It's a system designed to encourage service through ideology, not fair pay. Disguising exploitation as honor, a prime example of managing perceptions.
And the confidentiality clauses are chef's kiss. Insane. You're exposed to classified materials, gotta keep them secret. Fine. But here's the catch-22. Reading the terms and conditions in full is considered a breach of Clause 3.2.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, Clause 3.2 forbids accessing controlled classified materials without explicit written consent. So just by trying to understand the contract you're signing, you're already breaking it.
Wow. That's next level.
It's a trap, right? Designed to stop you from ever really knowing what you agreed to.
Precisely. That's a masterclass in psychological manipulation, that clause. It actively discourages you from engaging critically with the terms, creates an environment where ignorance isn't just bliss, it's required. By making the act of seeking information a punishable offense, Super Earth ensures Helldivers operate with a fundamentally limited grasp of their situation. Fosters unquestioning obedience. How can you question what you're not even allowed to fully read? It keeps you curious, maybe, but definitely uninformed. Powerful control.
And then the termination clauses. These really raise the stakes for your actual, virtual life in the game. You can be terminated if you're mortally wounded, and getting you medical help is not physically or financially justifiable.
Just leave you there. Cost-benefit analysis on your life.
Or if you express seditious, dangerous, or traitorous thoughts, thinking the wrong thing can get you terminated. Or, and this is the coldest part, by the enlister, for any reason. Notice of the cause for termination is not required.
For any reason. No explanation needed. Just gone.
Any reason at all.
And that links right back to the Uppsala paper calling Helldivers 2 a satire of fascist governments, even if it doesn't scream it from the rooftop.
And
those termination clauses, especially the any reason one, they're textbook totalitarian control. Zero due process, zero individual rights. The Helldiver is completely expendable, their life subject to the state's whim. It's subtle, but it powerfully exposes the oppressive reality behind managed democracy. Makes you really question justice in this universe.
And just when you think it can't get worse, the contract says Helldivers give unequivocal and irrevocable consent to being experimented on. Experimental weapons, tech, narcotics.
Oh, lovely. Guinea pigs for the state.
But how do they get that consent? This is the truly absurd yet terrifying bit. Consent is binding if the contract is read in whole or in part. Okay, but then it clarifies. The enlisted spending 1 second within 15 meters of a copy of the contract shall be interpreted as the contract being read.
You're kidding. Just being near it counts as reading and agreeing.
Yep. Don't have to touch it, don't have to understand it. Just proximity means you've signed up for whatever weird science they want to try on you.
That's the disturbing peak of control, isn't it? It means even your own body, your mind, can be messed with without any real consent. That 1 second within 15 meters rule is it's darkly funny, but chilling. A perfect example of how an authoritarian state can just manufacture consent, reducing your choice to a total formality.
Yeah.
Pushes the satire to this absurd, yet somehow recognizable extreme.
Yeah.
Makes you seriously question what choice even means on Super Earth. It brilliantly builds tension by showing just how utterly owned you are by the system.
Okay, so keeping all that disturbing stuff in mind, how does Super Earth actually sell this whole package to its people, to the Helldivers?
Yeah.
Because the game is just dripping with propaganda. And it's brilliant how it does it.
It really is.
The Uppsala paper defines propaganda pretty clearly. Information, ideas, opinions, or images, often biased, spread deliberately to influence people. And Helldivers 2 uses all the tricks. Glorification of war, fear-mongering, manipulation. It's everywhere.
It's true. And if we connect that to the bigger picture, the game doesn't just show you propaganda, it completely immerses you in it. You become an active participant.
How so?
Well, it's not just what's said, it's how you experience it, how you enact it as the player. That creates this really effective satirical layer. Because you, the player, are actually carrying out the actions of this totalitarian state, all while being told it's for freedom and democracy.
You're complicit.
You're complicit. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's designed to make you curious about your own role in this whole setup.
Okay, yeah, take the opening cinematic. Starts so nice, right? John Helldiver, waving to neighbors, wife and kids, smiling on the porch. Voiceover talking up Super Earth prosperity. Paints this perfect picture of our way of life.
Standard idyllic setup.
Then, wham! Giant terminid bug just brutally murders his family. Right there, he screams, "No! Sweet liberty, no!" Frame freezes on invasion. Then cut to John, now in full Helldiver armor, kinda laughing, telling a viewer, things like this are happening all over, and you could be next unless you do something. Then, the big sell. Become a hero, become a legend, become a Helldiver.
Textbook fear and patriotism motivator.
Yeah.
But done with such dramatic flair. It's pure emotional manipulation.
Absolutely.
The cinematic works because it bypasses logic, goes straight for the gut, shows you peace, then violently shatters it, creates instant, intense fear. And the immediate solution offered isn't negotiation or anything nuanced. It's join up, fight, be a hero.
Yeah.
It's a powerful narrative tool, mirrors exactly how real-world propaganda uses tragedy and threat to drum up support for war. Builds tension for you, the player, right away by showing how brutal the stakes are.
And the slogans. Oh man, the slogans your character shouts constantly. Freedom requires firepower. How about a nice cup of liberty, even when you get hurt? It's not, ouch, my leg. It's, sweet liberty, my leg.
Yeah, that one always gets me.
The Uppsala paper calls this indoctrination, right? Where the slogans become so ingrained that they're just part of how you talk, like a reflex. Makes you wonder if the Helldivers even think about what they're saying anymore.
And what's really clever there is the repetition. That paper points out how repetition, even of lies, can build familiarity, trust, influence opinions. So when your character, the one you're controlling, keeps yelling these things, it normalizes them in the game world, creates this internal monologue of propaganda, suggests the Helldiver is totally bought in, using the rhetoric almost like a prayer, as the paper suggests. It's subtle, but it really builds that sense of a managed reality.
And it's not just you. The NPCs on your ship, the shipmaster, the service technician, they're constantly talking up Helldivers. The technician says being a Helldiver is every kid's dream, which lines up perfectly with historical propaganda, you know. Tainting soldiers as heroes to get people to enlist, keep civilian support high. It's this constant reinforcement loop, hard to escape.
Yeah, that external validation from NPCs is another crucial layer, creates this unified message from society. Everyone admires you, everyone wants to be you. It reinforces the nobility, the importance of your role.
Makes you feel important.
Exactly. Plays on pride, sense of purpose, like Zhao's article on Nazi propaganda mentioned hitting those emotional buttons. Makes you feel part of something huge, even if that something is deeply flawed.
And the ship itself, the Super Destroyer, your personal ship, well, one of them. It's basically a giant flying propaganda billboard.
Yeah, pretty much.
Even if there are thousands, yours feels like this symbol of power. The names SES, Shield of the People, the decorations inside, skulls, banners, the Super Earth logo everywhere, it all screams unity and power, heroism. The lore calls it psychological warfare propaganda for the enemy, but it's definitely also for the Helldivers, right? Wrapping them in this constant visual reminder of their righteous fight.
Absolutely, critical symbolism. The Destroyer is like a mobile embassy of ideology, constantly reminding you of Super Earth's might, your heroic place in it. The skulls, the banners, they evoke historical military power, righteous fury. It doesn't just look cool, it means something.
Yeah.
And the logo everywhere, the blue for truth and security, yellow for hope and optimism, the 7 stars for the ministries. It worked to embed that ideology deep down. It's like science theory about creating a Bible for followers presenting values as unquestionable truth. Really raises the stakes of your commitment, makes you feel always under Super Earth's watchful eye.
And the Super Earth national anthem, if you actually look at the lyrics, chillingly direct. Freedom must reign over every last star, through citizens' blood spilled in our righteous wars. And no questions or doubts shall be allowed. Traitors will all be disavowed.
Wow, subtle.
Not subtle at all. It's basically a creed, a holy text. The Uppsala paper digs into this, calling it that Bible for citizens, presenting its values as universal truth.
That anthem really functions as the core ideological statement of Super Earth, doesn't it? Like
Wow.
a nationalistic symbol in our world. By framing citizen sacrifice as necessary for expansion and explicitly forbidding dissent, it lays out the ground rules of managed democracy.
Memorize and obey.
Exactly. Designed to be internalized, shape beliefs, shut down critical thinking. Directly manipulates opinion by calling war righteous, unquestionable. Just like, the World War I propaganda Usturk and Kanka discuss. The emotional power of an anthem is a remarkably strong way to deliver those messages, solidify your sense of belonging.
So, if you're playing this, you're not just blasting aliens. You're swimming in this incredibly detailed, satirical ocean of propaganda. It makes you feel like you are part of Super Earth, like the paper says, but hopefully it also makes you curious about why it feels that way. It's a really smart way to build a compelling world that also makes you think. A meaningful conversation starter about manipulation.
Definitely. It's layered.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit now. Away from the individual Helldiver experience and look at the Galactic War itself, because what's truly amazing about Helldivers 2, beyond the satire and lore, is that it's not static. This Galactic War is alive, it breathes.
It's dynamic.
It's a player-driven story, shaped by those major orders from High Command and just the sum total of what all Helldivers are doing out there. And that creates this incredible feeling of immediate stakes. Really ramps up the tension like few other games manage.
What's so fascinating there is how the devs manage this constantly evolving storyline that actually reacts to what players are doing. It's this huge orchestrated narrative where our collective actions directly change the map, change the story. Makes every mission feel like it genuinely matters.
For sure.
It's not just background noise. The war itself is a character, always changing based on our choices. Makes you curious what tomorrow's map will even look like.
Absolutely. Let's trace the arc of this war a bit, because it says a lot about Super Earth's grand strategy, or maybe lack thereof, and just how relentless these threats are. Early days, February-March 2024, we had the initial enemies established, Terminids, the bugs whose decomposing bodies conveniently give us Element 710, fuel for the destroyers.
Nice little war economy built right in.
Right. And the automatons, the killer robots.
And there were some quick wins back then, actually. Liberation of Tianquan that got us the exosuit tech, the XO-45 Patriot mech. Big win.
For like progress. Then, the big one. Activation of the Terminid Control System, the TCS. Supposedly going to wipe out the bugs on several key planets, end the threat.
That seemed like a game changer at the time.
It did. But these early stages, they show Super Earth's immediate thinking, right? Grab tech quickly, try for total annihilation. There's a definite hubris there. Believing one big weapon, one decisive move, can just end a complex war.
A classic mistake of expansionist thinking.
And almost immediately after the TCS went live, bam! New enemy type appears. The Shrieker. Flying bugs.
Right, that was the first big clue.
A huge foreboding sign, hinting that, uh-oh, maybe this wasn't over, maybe there are consequences we didn't expect. It instantly builds tension by showing every solution might just create a new, maybe worse problem. Challenges that illusion of control.
Definitely burst the bubble quickly.
And that tension just kept climbing. Proved that early confidence was, well, misplaced. By April to July 2024, the tide was really turning. New, scarier threats popping up. Remember Operation Swift Disassembly?
Yeah, the plan to wipe out the automatons completely.
Instead, it uncovered the Reclamation. A massive counter-invasion on an unprecedented scale. That wasn't just a setback. It was a huge shock to the system. Showed how resilient the bots really were.
That whole pivot in the story was just masterful for keeping the conflict going and raising the stakes. What started as, let's finish them off, turned into this desperate defense.
Suddenly on the back foot.
Exactly. Showed the scale, the power of the enemy. These repeated failures just highlight the futility of Super Earth's total victory approach. Military overreach leading to bigger threats. Traps them in this endless war cycle. Force players to face their limits. Turned a potential endgame into a terrifying new phase. Hugely raised the stakes for everyone.
And there were some brutal losses then. Operation Swift Disassembly Phase 2, trying to take back Tibet, a big automaton factory world. Total failure. Operation Courageous Defense couldn't stop the bots rolling forward. Many innocent and once beautiful worlds seized.
Painful defeats. Felt meaningful.
But nothing compares to the TCS failure and what happened to Meridia. The Terminid control system just stopped working. Bugs developed resistance to termicide. Meridia turned into this hyper-reproductive adaptation zone.
A bug nightmare planet.
Leading eventually to total planetary implosion caused by dark fluid. Now, okay, explain dark fluid again. What is this stuff and why was Super Earth messing with it?
Right, dark fluid. It's described as this experimental substance, something the Illuminate the first game's enemies developed and weaponized way back when. Super Earth then liberated it, essentially planning to use the enemy's own super weapon against future threats.
Risky move.
Hugely risky. And the destruction of Meridia is just monumental, not just for the story, but psychologically for players. It showed the game wasn't afraid to have catastrophic consequences for failure. Even if the dark fluid was technically a Super Earth creation used in desperation.
So our own weapon backfired, essentially.
Or at least, our attempt to control the bugs using another weaponized substance led to planetary collapse. It forces you to confront that even our solutions can be disastrous. Adds that moral grayness to the war. Massively amplifies the stakes, makes you question Super Earth's judgment.
Yeah, they literally blew up a planet with their own tech, trying to fix another problem, and players were there when it happened. Forced FTL jump to escape. That's a huge shared trauma moment for the player base, not just a statistic, a whole world gone.
Unforgettable in-game event.
And as if that wasn't enough chaos, December 2024 rolls around. Emergency alert. Disregard all prior orders. Illuminate signatures reported.
Dead.
Total game changer. The return of an enemy from the first Galactic War, these human-like assailants. This wasn't just a new bug or bot variant, this was a massive escalation.
Yeah.
Huge tension spike, a whole new, mysterious, Powerful threat, we had to adapt completely.
The Illuminate returning just shattered any hope as a simple two-front war, didn't it? Raised the stakes immensely, turned it into this multi-dimensional fight against an enemy with totally different methods, a hidden agenda.
What do they want?
Exactly. That narrative twist keeps players guessing, constantly adapting, reminds you this fight for managed democracy is way more complex, way more endless than it first seemed. Creates that perpetual vigilance, that curiosity. Who are these guys?
Then, January to March 2025, more crises, more tough choices. That terminid spore cloud, the gloom, it expanded, but weirdly yielded 10x more E710, the very fuel we need.
A poison chalice.
Right. At the same time, unexplained gravitational waves, space-time fluctuations, all correlated with Illuminate activity. Things got really weird. Cosmic weird, that the universe itself felt like it was glitching.
That blend of environmental hazard and enemy threat just shows the narrative getting more complex. The gloom becomes this paradox dangerous, but offers a vital resource. Forces those morally iffy choices about exploiting a hazard.
Risk versus reward.
And the gravity waves linked the Illuminate. Hence it's something deeper, maybe an existential threat beyond just armies fighting. Elevates the stakes to cosmic manipulation, creates this real sense of dread. Makes you question everything.
And the Illuminate were literally harvesting dark energy to move the Meridian singularity, the black hole left by Meridia. Despite our best efforts, Angel's venture has been torn apart by the gravitational pull. Another planet gone.
Yeah, Angel's venture being destroyed, that's another huge blow. Echoes Meridia, but maybe more sinister because it feels like a deliberate enemy action using the consequences of our action.
Using the black hole we made.
Exactly. Powerfully reinforces that even maximum player effort can't always win, adds that tragic realism. Designed to make you feel a bit helpless, maybe, more urgent, deepens the understanding of the crazy odds we're up against.
But players also face some really tough moral choices then. Genuine ethical dilemmas, testing that managed democracy, loyalty. Operation. Legitimate undertaking phase 1, citizen rescue. Choice. Save citizens who have proved their loyalty, plus get a new fortification stratagem on Chuhair. Or save citizens who have synthesized tons of caustic chemicals for a new support weapon stratagem on Penta. Only the first planet liberated likely saves the people gear.
Oof. Loyal citizens versus chemical producers. What happened?
Chu failed. Penta was liberated. Then Operation Twin Defender, defend valuable gas mines on Juma 2YR, or save moderately feeble young adults on Juheim.
People versus resources again.
But this time, both saved, against the odds. But then another Operation Twin Defender, defend Mordesh's site of dark fluid research now threatened by the singularity, or defend Clarel's deep mantle forge complex, where bots were building something even more unthinking and vicious.
Dark secrets versus new bot horror.
Clarel saved. Mordesh evacuated, lost to the singularity.
You know, this really raises that important question. How much does the game want you to feel the weight of these choices, given the whole satirical thing?
Yeah, we're supposed to agonize.
The choices are often presented as these cold, utilitarian trade-offs. People versus gear. Loyal citizens versus productive ones. Even when you succeed, like saving both planets, the initial framing puts you under moral pressure. Highlights Super-Earth's calculating logic, even when offering a choice.
Forces you to confront the compromises.
Exactly. The uncomfortable compromises of managed democracy makes you, the player, curious about what you'd actually prioritize in that situation. It's a clever way to deepen that conversation about agency within the satire.
And after all that, April-May 2025, we got some temporary breaks. But the threats were always there. Construction started on the Democracy Space Station, the DSS, a powerful strategic tool, needs huge taxpayer contributions and Helldiver support.
More resources needed, more sacrifice demanded.
And another limited foray into the gloom for more E710 for dark energy experiments, even with significantly increased casualty rates. Just felt relentless, keep pushing no matter the cost.
These moments just signal Super-Earth's endless hunger for power, for resources, often at extreme human cost, right? The DSS is this huge symbol, needs taxpayer money, hints at the burden on citizens. The Gloom expeditions, despite casualties, show the willingness to sacrifice lives for tech, builds tension by showing even progress has a high price, makes every win feel fragile.
And then a huge win, felt like a real turning point. The repulsive gravity field generator made from captured Illuminate tech successfully halted the Meridian singularity. The Illuminate seemed to just vanish, disappeared completely.
A massive victory. Felt like maybe Just maybe.
We could breathe. Yeah, but of course. False sense of security. Immediately followed by Operation Damage Control, bugs and bots hitting weak spots. Then Operation Equilibrium to expand territory. Failed.
The cycle continues.
And then the ultimate shoe drop. Illuminate Fleet YVO Wormhole Widow's Harbor attacked. They weren't gone. They were hiding, regrouping. And now they're coming for Super Earth itself. The message. Battle on Super Earth is inevitable.
Wow, that narrative arc. Big win, followed by an even bigger existential threat. It's just brilliant for constantly raising the stakes, introducing new dangers, makes every victory feel temporary.
Yeah.
Perfectly reflects the feeling of an unending war. Super Earth's fight is never truly over. Every win is just a pause before the next harder fight. Keeps players hooked, curious, always facing escalating crises, makes this whole deep dive into the story feel really meaningful. And yeah, brings the tension right to the heart of managed democracy itself.
It's just relentless, isn't it, this cycle? Push back one threat, another gets stronger, or something totally new appears. Keeps you on edge, always fighting, always wondering if it'll ever actually end.
Keeps the hamster wheel spinning.
Okay, let's shift gears. Pull back from the lore, the war. Look at the game behind the war. The developer's vision, how players experience it, and some really unexpected real-world connections. Because it's crucial to remember, Helldivers 2 is fundamentally a satire of fascist governments, even with all that immersive propaganda.
That's the core intent, yeah. It's not accidental, it's deliberate design.
And that distinction matters, right? The game wraps itself in these powerful, compelling propaganda tropes, but the creator's goal is satirical, critical. It's commentary, inviting you to play along with the absurdity while subtly or not so subtly nudging you to think critically.
It's a sophisticated balancing act in game design.
For sure. Johan Pilestedt, former CEO of Arrowhead, he famously pitched the game by comparing players to Stormtroopers in Star Wars, asking if players would do better climbing into that room trying to capture the bad guys that are trying to take over your lovely Death Star.
Yeah, that's a great quote.
It's a direct challenge, right? Makes you curious about your own actions within that framework. Are you the good guy?
Really makes you question your perspective.
And here's where it gets really interesting, showing the game's impact. At the Game Developers Conference, GDC, in March 2025, the United Nations actually reached out to Arrowhead, wanted them to give a talk on psychological defense against manipulation.
Wow, the UN. That's huge.
Right. Pilestedt said, "We do it all in fun and good spirits, and we actually try to get people to recognize the science of what is a totalitarian state. If you start wearing the same uniform as everybody else and do salutes constantly, you might be in a totalitarian regime."
That's incredibly direct.
So what do you think the UN found so compelling there? For talking about psychological defense, and how does Arrowhead walk that line between satire and maybe being misinterpreted?
Well, connecting this to the bigger picture, the developers are clearly trying to make us reflect, even while we're having fun blowing things up. The UN's interest, it likely comes from how effectively the game uses those real propaganda techniques we talked about.
The slogans, the dehumanizing enemies.
Exactly. The calls to freedom, the way enemies are portrayed. It's all textbook stuff for influencing populations. Arrowhead walks that line, I think, by constantly reinforcing the intent through interviews, lore details, that it is satire, it is meant to be critical and educational.
Just have fun, but think about it.
Right. They want you to enjoy the chaos, but also recognize the manipulation mechanics at play. It elevates the game beyond just fun, makes it this thought-provoking commentary, asks you, the player, to think about your own agency, your own susceptibility, a truly meaningful conversation about media power.
Okay, let's talk about the actual gameplay experience, because even with that strong message, it hasn't all been smooth sailing. The game launched February 8th, 2024, PS5 and PC. Huge success, critically and commercially. Sold over 15 million copies, largest launch of any PlayStation Studios game available on PC. Reviews generally favorable, riotous affair, best-in-class gunplay, truly epic and often cinematic.
Yeah, it definitely struck a chord. And technically, visually, it delivered some impressive stuff. Impressive environmental density, that volumetric lighting looks great, destructible environments, stuff blowing up everywhere.
Yeah, the chaos looks good.
It does. But there were technical hitches. Eurogamer pointed out the PS5 performance mode was only 1080p, quality mode 1728p. What does that mean for players? Basically, choosing between smooth gameplay with fuzzier visuals or a sharper picture that might stutter more.
A common console trade-off.
It is. And on PC, not having DLSS or FSR2 at launch was, as they said, a real shame. because those techs help boost performance without sacrificing too much visual quality. And a lot of PC players had to compromise more than they wanted to get things running well. Led to some frustration, definitely made people curious why those standard features were missing.
And the launch itself, despite the success, major issues, right? Too many players, servers couldn't handle it, widespread server and login issues for the first 2 weeks. They had to massively increase the player cap to, 700,000 concurrent users?
Yeah, just getting in was the first boss fight for many.
So, huge hit, but frustrating start for a lot of people just trying to play.
Those technical hiccups, while kind of common for massive online launches, they're part of the story, showed just how unexpectedly huge the game became, and how quickly excitement turns to frustration when you can't even log in. Built a different kind of tension, the tension of the queue screen.
But maybe the biggest ongoing struggle, the most persistent tension, is that fun versus balance debate. You see it constantly in the community, especially for a live service game like this.
Oh yeah, Reddit's full of it.
Players feeling like the devs keep killing this game fun with balance changes. You hear that phrase, nerfing in minutes, buffing in months, all the time. Reflects a real deep-seated worry.
It's a classic live service problem, isn't it? But maybe more intense here because it's co-op and there's that power fantasy element.
Right.
Players want to feel like a badass Helldiver.
Right. That's the core loop.
So when that feeling gets diminished, supposedly for balance, it clashes hard with their idea of fun. Highlights that tightrope devs walk. Keep it challenging, keep it diverse, but also let players feel powerful, feeling constantly nerfed. That really raises the stakes of just enjoying the game, makes your favorite loadout suddenly feel weak.
And the complaints get specific. Excessive ragdolling, making combat feel clumsy. Chargers aren't fun because their whole weak spot thing got confusing back first, now head legs. People aren't sure.
Yeah, that charger confusion is a big one.
And big enemies being far too quiet. Hulks, tanks, impalers just sneaking up on you leads to those frustrating feel-cheap deaths. These aren't just small gripes, they change how the game feels moment to moment.
And those details from the community show exactly how balance tweaks affect the experience, not just the numbers. Impacts flow, tactics, perceived fairness, feeds right into that fun versus balance fight. If players feel the devs don't get the fun part, it creates a disconnect. Breeds cynicism, not engagement. That's a meaningful conversation about managing your community right there.
The devs did respond though. Game director put out a message, acknowledged, balance should be fun, not balanced for the sake of balance. Laid out plans, rework ragdolling, rework chargers, improve performance all within 60 days. A clear sign they heard the noise.
Which is a necessary step, definitely.
Yeah.
But you saw the reaction, right? Understandable skepticism.
Oh yeah. Lots of doubt on Reddit. Another "we screwed up" post, people saying they'd heard similar promises before, some even saying they'd just move on to other games, or that the studio was bloated with PPL that don't really help get things done. Shows the pressure, the challenge of rebuilding trust in that live service world.
That meta-narrative is fascinating.
So this brings up a really meaningful point for us. How much does this constant tension, developer vision, satire, fun balance versus player expectation, power fantasy, reliable fun, how much does it actually shape engagement? Is it just part of the ride, this meta war alongside the Galactic one? Or does it chip away at the game over time?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? That dialogue, sometimes conflict, between devs and players hugely shapes the game's identity, its lifespan. If players feel the development choices go against the core fun that hooked them, it can create a serious disconnect.
Turns them from fans into critics.
Exactly. Risks turning players from active participants in the satire into just frustrated consumers. Could undermine the very engagement the game needs. It's a potent reminder, even the smartest satire needs a solid, enjoyable, fair gameplay base to stand on. Otherwise, players might just lose that curiosity, lose interest, and drift away.
A tricky balance indeed. And finally, let's touch on something truly unexpected and honestly quite sobering. The game's unforeseen real-world ripple effect. September 12th, 2025. Helldivers 2 gets pulled into the investigation of the Charlie Kirk assassination. The accused shooter allegedly engraved a Helldivers 2 stratagem code onto an unfired bullet casing.
Yeah, that's stark.
We need to be clear here, just reporting the facts as mentioned on Wikipedia. No sides taken, but wow.
That detail just serves as this really stark reminder, doesn't it? How deeply art, games, culture can intertwine with reality, sometimes in ways that are really unexpected, really challenging.
Yeah.
It adds this whole other complex layer to the discussion about propaganda, about interpretation, way beyond the game's fiction. The creators use propaganda satirically, explicitly, to raise awareness about totalitarianism. but how individuals interpret, internalize, or even misuse elements from a game. That's completely unpredictable.
Yeah, control interpretation.
No.
Yeah.
And this event just underscores the immense power cultural products have, how they can resonate in ways creators never intended and never foresaw. Highlights that complex, sometimes disturbing link between virtual stories and real-world actions. Build a whole different kind of tension, the tension of unintended consequences.
A truly sobering point. It shows just how complicated things can get when a game breaks out into the wider world in ways you just can't predict.
Absolutely.
Okay, wow. We have covered a lot of ground today. Explored Helldivers 2 as this really layered experience, haven't we? It's a chaotic co-op shooter, yes, but also this sharp satirical take on totalitarianism and this constantly evolving story shaped by devs and players together.
L3.
We've journeyed through Super Earth's slick propaganda, dug into the grim truths of that Helldiver contract, and watched the relentless escalation of a galactic war that genuinely puts planetary fates in your hands. Talk about building tension.
Kept us on the edge of our seats, that's for sure.
We saw how the creators deliberately set out to make you, the player, question what you're fighting for, even got the attention of the UN about psychological manipulation. But they've also had to wrestle with intense player feedback, trying to balance their artistic vision with the community's demand for fun.
That ongoing struggle.
So when a game blurs those lines so expertly, fiction, commentary, and then even brushes up against real-world events, it leaves us with a big question for you, the listener, the player. How much of the freedom you fight for in Helldivers 2 is really yours? And how much is just part of a bigger, meticulously managed narrative? One designed to keep you hooked, keep you entertained, and maybe, just maybe, keep you questioning.
Something to definitely ponder.
Something to ponder as you log back in for your next deployment for Super Earth.